All right, guys, thanks for coming here to watch. My name is Jeremy with TenTonHammer. I'm joined by my usual co-host from TenTonHammer Talks, Alex, known as Velix. And we have a cool guest today. We're actually doing a completely separate interview segment. We are joined today by Justin Garry, the founder of Stoneblade Entertainment. We're real excited to have him here. So just to get things kicked off, for those who may not know Justin, if you could just give a quick intro for yourself, who you are, what you do.
Sure, sure. Yeah, I'm really happy to be here. So as you mentioned, CEO of Stoneblade Entertainment, but I really more think of myself as a game designer. That's kind of what I've been for many years now. I started off as actually a professional Magic the Gathering player, was U.S. national champion in '97, played professionally for many years up through 2002, won a Pro Tour and things like that. Then after a brief ill-advised stint at law school, I started designing games. Designed Versus system, the Marvel and DC trading card game, the World of Warcraft miniatures game, worked on the World of Warcraft trading card game, a whole bunch of other stuff before founding Stoneblade. Stoneblade, we've released a bunch of games. Ascension was our first game, the deck builder, which is both physical and digital. And then we did a big Kickstarter campaign, and I partnered with Richard Garfield, the creator of Magic the Gathering, to create Solforge, which is now nearing completion. And we have an awesome new project that's actually being kickstarted right now called Labyrinth, which we're working with free range games. So that's a little brief overview of my life distilled into a 30-second pitch.
Nice. I think that actually summed things up pretty well. So as you mentioned, Stoneblade is working on Soulforge, which certainly has gotten attention. While that we would do definitely want to talk about Labyrinth. Just give us like another quick, say, 30-second overview of Soulforge and just kind of what you've been doing with that project.
Yeah, yeah. So Soulforge really, I mean, so I'll give you, if it's okay, I'm gonna go a little bit more than 30 seconds because
Absolutely, go for it.
like I knew Richard from back in my days when I was playing Magic, but we weren't really close. I met him really at PAX Dev conference in 2011 when he was giving a talk and was asked at the end of the talk what was his favorite game that he was playing, and he said Ascension, which for me I just lost it. My whole life got dictated by Magic. I mean, everything that I've done, and so I started talking to him after that, and we clearly had a very similar vision for what a digital TCG needed to be. Like, how would you design a game from the ground up to be perfect for mobile and PC and really bring all the great parts of a TCG, and that's what Soulforge was, and is. We built it. And we've been working on it for years now. It is basically the cool mechanic of it is doing something you can't really do in physical games, which is have cards that level up. Every time you play a card in Soulforge, it levels up. And like in Ascension and most deck building games, when after a certain amount of time, your deck gets reshuffled. So all the cards in your discard pile get reshuffled back in your deck. And then you can play those higher level cards. So you play cards that influence the game now and also have this influence over what kind of features you're going to have available for the game later. So that's a really core innovation to it. And just the idea of being able to work on a trading card game that people can play for free. They can earn all the cards they want. They can play in 5 minutes on their phone wherever you're standing in line at the bank. Like that, the whole possibilities of playing the great gameplay that we love and grew up with, but convenient and free and accessible and doing cool things that only could be done on a digital game. So it's been an exciting road, and I got to tell you, man, I learned a lot of lessons along the way too. We can dig into that stuff, but I feel like I'm a pretty good game designer. I'm very proud of the games I made, but man, did I not know what I was doing when it came to making digital games at first. It was something we had to learn the hard way, and that's one of the reasons I'm so excited about working with free range games, because they are kick ass at that. I don't know if I'm allowed to say ass, but I said
You're 100% allowed and can't stop you now.
Sorry.
No, that's all right.
They do a great job with that stuff, and we just released a promo video of the new Soulforge client that's getting released. They've released tons of stuff on their Labyrinth page and on the Labyrinth Kickstarter about how great that game looks. So being able to combine the best of the great game design that I've spent my whole life trying to do, and really great, beautiful graphics, smooth animations, great working games is an awesome thing to do.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I am interested in Labyrinth, and just because of the TCG, or I guess CCG factor. I myself was a big Magic player. Still tinker around with casual Legacy when I can, but can you talk about maybe some of your Magic influences that go into some of the projects that you're working on?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, as I mentioned, I mean, not only did Magic sort of dictate the course of my life, but it of course has inspired everything that I do. I mean, if you look at my game Ascension, which again is also both physical game and can be gotten free on iOS, Android, and PC, is basically I took the concept of a deck building game and I wanted to simulate a Magic draft, right? The idea that I can like pick cards out of and that those are the things that help build the deck that I'm going to have to play that game, and I build that all into one game. So it was like my first, self-published game was very much inspired by the drafting mechanic in Magic. Solforge, a combination is really a combination of Ascension and Magic itself. I mean, working with Richard Garfield, of course, it's going to be an influence there. But the idea that you customize your deck and that you build it out of those different, the different colors or factions in our game, but you also have the deck that gets built as you're playing, right? Because the cards I play level up and then become accessible later. I'm actually influencing my deck both before the game by building a deck and during the game while I'm playing. And so those are like very, very direct influences. And, Labyrinth is very similar. I mean, obviously there's a whole new dimension to Labyrinth, which is just not like any other TCG because it has this 3D tactical element with this RPG component and dungeon building. And so it's like this hugely ambitious project. But, the basics of what makes the game polished, I'd say, it takes things a level beyond Magic because of all these other influences that are coming in. But my background and my team's background, I work with Brian Kibler and John Fiorillo and a ton of people who all have a huge amount of experience on the Magic Pro Tour, and that's what's made us good at developing games, right? We not to say that we're never going to make stuff broken. We will continue to do so, but we're pretty good at balancing games and making sure that the strategies are very, very deep. And that's a lot because of our years playing Magic, our years playing at the highest competitive levels. Because, there's a lot of great games out there that the mechanics are awesome, the idea is great, but they just didn't balance it right. And they just missed a couple of things at the end. And that lack of like polish and focus on the high-end strategic ends up sabotaging the game overall. And that's something we've learned a lot from Magic. We've learned a lot over the years, and we bring that to every game we make. And that's, I think, a big part of what's going to make Labyrinth not just kind of a fun one-off thing, but something that's going to be deeper and deeper with more plays, and it's going to be exciting for years to come.
So you definitely, kind of already started to answer my next question, which is exactly, what Stoneblade is going to be doing in their partnership with Free Range. But delve a little more into that, and also just how you got involved with them in the first place, how that collaboration kind of came to be.
Yeah. It's so as I did already sort of dig into that, right? What we figured out over the years is that Stoneblade, we were really good at making games and focusing on the game mechanics and the game balance and making sure everything is super fun and that all works together. And Free Range has proven, over the projects they've done as Free Range and over their team's history, that they're very good at making really smooth, really beautiful games that are intuitive, that just work. And so we're both focusing on those tasks, right? They have teams that are building out, the actual code for the clients and the graphics and everything integrating, and our teams are working on all of the game design, all the game development, and of course we're integrating, we're doing feedback rounds on everything. And one of the great things that's really been awesome, is the Solforge process, and now we're starting with the Labyrinth process, is because it's out in the open, right, via Kickstarter, because we have a lot of backers that are very passionate. We've seen the game evolve over time to really become what it is today and what it's going to be, when we get to our release. And so Free Range has been great for, bouncing ideas back. They've been helping to interact with the community as well. And so we both kind of work together on that front. As far as how we met, it's been about a little less than 2 years that we've been working together. We met through a mutual friend. We met up at Comic-Con for the first time when we actually met in person. We talked on the phone a couple times before that. And again, they showed me their first kind of concepts for Labyrinth. They already had a pretty big picture idea. The world was fleshed out. They had a cool looking demo. They clearly like instantly showed me how cool the looking thing they could make, how great the kind of vision for what this big picture could be. And I immediately, and I'm glad this is how I knew we were going to work together, because I immediately started jumping on gameplay components and ways it could be improved and different sorts of things. And, as a general rule, if you want to get along with people, you shouldn't just like immediately criticize the business that they're working on for years. But I did it from a place of being so enthusiastic about the potential, right? It was so many cool things going on. I'm like, oh man, okay, I would change the game engine this way and change the mechanics this way, and this would be a cool thing. And we just started bouncing back and forth, and it never stopped. And then when we had an opportunity to really make Solforge, transition Solforge. And we had a crossroads. We keep going with the team we have and trying to improve the beta client, which again, everybody can play. It's out there for free. There's a lot of great features about it, but there's also a lot of things that really needed improvement. And because we had such a great working relationship with Free Range, we transitioned them to taking on the Solforge project, and we've been just kind of working together in lockstep. And it's one of those things, like, it's always terrifying when you take your baby. I mean, I've been working on Solforge now for 4 years. That's a long time, and to put that into somebody else's hands, and that's really going to be critical to success is scary. But Free Range has been doing a great job, and it's really just like an extension of our team, and we feel like we're an extension of their team when it comes to the Labyrinth. So it's been a great way for us both to leverage our strengths and continue to just build two awesome products.
Yeah, it looks pretty awesome. It seems like you guys have a ton of polish on everything you put out so far. But as for the actual mechanics and kind of the back end of the game, the stuff that you're working on, what has been your favorite part of collaborating with them? What part of the game are you most excited about working on?
Yeah, so those are two different questions. I'll answer them both. First, the thing I'm most excited about the game. So I mentioned before that I worked on a game on the World of Warcraft miniatures game. Okay, this was a physical tabletop game, and it had some really awesome mechanics in it that I was super proud of. That was like, in the game when I left Upper Deck, and eventually that they lost that license, and it didn't. That game now lives in the game graveyards where you can only find it with true diehard fans. But there was this really core mechanic about this tick timing system, rather than the traditional I go you go. There was a system where you'd spend time for each of your characters to do different attacks, and it was a really cool mechanic, but it was really hard to do physically because tracking everything, we had to have a little base on the guys to track what how much time it was. You can think about it like a cooldown, right? Every time you use a power, you have a cooldown until you can kind of act again. More powerful things have longer cooldowns, and so the ability to do that. Once I knew we were going to do a trading card game that was a tabletop tactical game, I immediately was like, oh, this is the opportunity to really perfect that system and bring it to life in a whole new way. And so that was super exciting to me. That was, that project, I'd worked on that project for 3 years, and that was now, whatever, it's been out of print for 5 years. So that's something that's been like an 8 years I've been waiting to really be able to show this mechanic off and then bring it to life in a whole new way. And that's very exciting for me, and I know any of the fans of that game will love it, and even people who've never heard of that game, this is going to be way better because I don't have the problems that we had in just doing a physical iteration of it. So that's the kind of core mechanic that I'm most excited about. And the thing that I love most with the Free Range integration is they have, my background obviously is far more in the TCG world than in the RPG world, but I've played RPGs my whole life. I've always enjoyed them. I love a good dungeon crawl, and the vision that Chris and Bradley have for Labyrinth is just awesome. The world is really cool. It's really well thought out, and it's put me in a position where I now get to focus on not just, okay, I know that the trading card game part is going to be awesome and there's going to be cool tactical components, but also how is the RPG component compelling, and having characters that can level up and unlock new cards and have all these kinds of progressions that you can do, and then building a dungeon component and having what makes me building my dungeon cool, and how are my different rooms going to interact, and how, if I have to plot out how I'm going to trap all the helpless parties that are going to come my way. And so that's just super fun and a really cool thing, and being able to bring that vision of the world that they have to life through these different mechanics is a pretty exciting thing. And it's been great to kind of just bounce ideas back and forth, and really, I mean, this is no jokes. This is an ambitious project. I mean, this is the kind of thing that Kickstarter is perfect for, because it's such a huge project and it's got so many different moving parts, but it can appeal to so many different people. I think being a part of the ride and being a part of seeing this thing come to life is going to be a pretty exciting process.
Yeah, I will say it's definitely one of the things that attracted me to it, because probably throughout my life, the two biggest genres of gaming that I've been attracted to have been RPGs and card games. So it really is a perfect fusion for me as a fan. So from the CCG part of it, give me one thing that maybe hasn't already been made, very public, that is going to be exciting to card game players when they really see this game come out.
Something that hasn't already been made public. So you're telling me,
or maybe not as on the surface. Let's say it that way. Not as immediately obvious.
Well, so I think for most So I'll list a couple of things that I think will hit a broad swath of people. I think for a lot of people that have traditional TCG backgrounds, you're not gonna be used to having a 3D field that you can interact with, and a real tactical board positioning, having ranges matter, being able to summon different minions and have them influence the board, and have that tactical component in. I think is going to be a big shift for them, and something that's really interesting. I think building the dungeons, you have to be able to build your dungeon so that it can play when you're not there, because people are going to be raiding you when you're not online. And so building a deck that has to function in a semi-automated way against a variety of different possible threats that can come at you is a really cool, like, TCG puzzle building. Like you have to really plan things out ahead of time, and the way your different rooms interlock and how that's going to make it very hard for somebody's party to come in, right? If a party is focused primarily on like ranged magic users, and you have one of your rooms that has a lot of good defense against magic and can like take out the squishy range guys, and then you have another room that maybe would make it very hard for like a more physical defensive style deck to make it through. So you really have this really cool puzzle component that's like not a traditional TCG challenge, but is a really interesting way to like review your cards. And then the leveling up component, I think, is this is what an RPG player is going to love. But the idea that I can like level up my characters, and that can unlock new abilities and new cards and change the way that my team interacts, and that I can get by playing like invested in my player character party. That's one of the coolest things of the RPG world, that I think TCG players are going to be pretty excited and intrigued to see how that interacts with their like traditional view of like, okay, I just look at this pool of cards and build the best deck.
Yeah, one thing that I find really cool about Labyrinth is that you're taking this CCG, traditional mechanics and stuff, and actually infusing them into a digital environment. We've seen Hearthstone kind of take advantage of some of those things, but I think Labyrinth, with this tactical RPG element, is exploring even more of what can be done with a digital component to CCG. So it's pretty exciting. As you guys have gone through this process, have there been things that you've learned about, or new things that have popped up to you that you weren't able to touch at all in a physical sense that now digital opens up for you?
Yeah, yeah, 100%. So with Solforge, right, that was one of our goals as well, right? Was that we wanted to make sure we were doing something that only the digital world allowed us to do, and that was the card leveling and transforming the cards as you play, right? Very, very awkward to do in physical, but something you could do in digital, and it opened up this really cool new play space. But we also had a rule that anything we wanted to do with Solforge, we had to be able to like prototype and iterate on physically as much as possible, because it just wasn't. We didn't have a programming team at the time. We had to build everything out. And now, from even before I got involved, they already had this awesome 3D prototype and all these different things we could play with. So I could let loose, man. I mean, we could do so many cool different mechanics and ways that cards interact, and really pretty sophisticated like territorial abilities are some of the coolest ones, where it's like, okay, I have a cone of fire, and it's like, all right, I need to position myself and like blast a cone out at all of these, get all these guys in front of me to maximize that effect. Or having different kinds of things where adjacency matters, and having the teleporting guys, and being able to just do all of these really, really cool effects, like even things like stealth, right, where our Skullduggerist can stealth and can't be viewed by the other side. How that influences stuff is something you could never really do in a physical TCG. And so there's just a ton of components, and I'm I'm constantly impressed by how many options free range gives us. It's like, oh yeah, we can do this thing, and then we can have the different dungeons connect in this way, and then you compare against other people. And we're thinking long term about not just the player versus dungeon, but down the road having like a player versus player component, and having different ways that all of these different cards can interact on so many different levels is pretty damn cool.
That's awesome. So to kind of wrap things up, and really really circle back to something you mentioned before. You mentioned the Kickstarter, and I think that's definitely important, because I agree with you. This does seem like the perfect kind of idea and project for a Kickstarter campaign. So Stoneblade is actually doing something to try to help people with the Kickstarter, giving a little offer. You want to give the details on that?
Yeah, that's right. So basically, we wanted, we wanted to promote it through all of our fans of our current games and anybody that's out there. And this is basically anybody that signs up for the Kickstarter. They're going to be sending out a survey at the end, and if you just enter in the keyword Stoneblade, you just get 5 free bonus packs. We had a link we sent out in an email, but if you just go to the page and put in the keyword Stoneblade into the survey, 5 packs. Doesn't matter what tier you're at, right? If you want to come in, let's say you're not sure about this game, you're not sure about me, you're not sure what the hell's going on. spend $1, right? Spend $1, you get free 5 free bonus packs, be a part of the campaign. Obviously, it'd be nice if you contributed more. We still need, I think, like 50 grand or something like that to actually fund this thing. But it's just gonna be a crazy ride. It's worth it to be a part of what's going on. And that's a small bonus that we were able to kind of work out with Free Range because we're kind of partnered on the project. And I'm pretty excited about that. Yeah, listen, it's something that is unlike anything that's out there. We are just the progress we've made to date is already pretty amazing, and you can see the videos and stuff. Hopefully, we'll have more of that stuff. I know that we're going to have something else to show off in the next couple of days, but you can already see how beautiful and polished the game is, and we're working hard on making it as deep and fun and engaging as it possibly can be. Neither team wants to build a game that's like, oh, this is a big deal for a couple months and then goes away, right? We want to build things that are going to last for years. That Solforge, has lasted in beta for years, and now it's going to come out to release and actually, just be better than ever. And that's something, we're looking at very, very soon. And now with Labyrinth, it's like we've made a lot of progress, and we just need, help from the community to really get it to the finish line. And this is the kind of thing like, we want to exist. This is the kind of thing that, like, as a fan of all the games I've loved as a child, RPGs, TCGs, this is something that I want to help bring to life. That's why I've been excited about it. I hope that, a lot of your listeners and people watching this are excited about it. We're very involved in answering questions. If people have questions, we're answering them on the Kickstarter page for the Labyrinth CCG. We're answering them on Reddit. We're answering them on forums where, everybody's pretty engaged. So if you guys have more questions or anything you guys want to see, you can check it out there. And of course, if you want to sign up and you can fill out the code Stoneblade, you get free bonus packs.
All right, awesome. I will say personally, I'm super excited about the game. I can't wait to see more that comes out. Justin, it's been great talking to you. Really appreciate you coming on here.
Yeah, it was my pleasure. I look forward to talking again soon. We'll have the Solforge release coming out soon. I'd love to talk again then.
Absolutely. Glad to have you back.
Awesome.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, no problem.